Hiatus, a pause or break in continuity in a sequence or activity.
For the past 3 years, Hunter x Hunter has come out of its legendary hiatus and released around 10 chapters back to back, only to retreat once more to its seemingly eternal slumber. Every time the series announces its comeback, people theorize that the series could be here to stay, that there won't be another hiatus, that this could be it. But they are all proven wrong in time. They become disheartened and grow to hate the idea of the hiatus. Even the subreddit for Hunter x Hunter embraces this element with open arms, because as fans, all we can do is laugh, or would be left crying ourselves to sleep. Considering we have just reached this point again, and considering there are those out there who are going through their first hiatus this year, I thought I'd make a video to make the hiatus a bit easier this time. This is why the hiatus is a good thing. Yoshihiro Togashi has released 10 chapters of his glorious manga this year, and he had published 11 chapters last year as well. In both of these instances, these releases concluded the publication of an entire volume, leaving it to release the next year, which coincided with the return of the manga in Shonen Jump. To put it simply, Togashi makes 10 chapters. He goes back to bed. In a year's time, those chapters are released in manga form, and then shortly after that, Togashi gets back up again and makes 10 more chapters. By releasing the volumes in this way, it makes each release an event. When volume 34 was announced to be released in June 2017, it got everyone in the mood for Hunter x Hunter again. And when the manga was brought back, everyone went wild. By making the release an event, it creates hype, and hype sells. But not only is it a clever business ploy that maximizes profits, it also works out for the fans, considering we are much more likely to get Hunter x Hunter every year this way. To put this plan into perspective, let me give you some numbers. In 2011, Togashi went on the longest publishing streak he has done to this day. Togashi published 30 chapters back to back. That's the last few chapters of the Chimera Ant arc, the entirety of the 13th Chairman election arc, and even the introductory chapters for the Dark Continent arc. 3 volumes, all in one long string of releases. Amazing, right? Well, whilst it was good at the time, straight after these chapters finished being released, the series also entered the longest hiatus it has ever received. The series started this hiatus on April 2nd, 2012. Funnily enough, a day after April Fool's. But this was no joke, as the series resumed more than 2 years later, on June 16th, 2014. If releasing that many chapters results in more than 2 years of nothing, then it quite clearly just isn't worth it. But 10 chapters a year with only 1 year-long break is a much better trade-off. But the reason why this is a better trade-off is due to the fact that even though it's not as good as other release schedules in Shonen Jump, it's better than nothing. Especially considering Togashi has managed to pull this tactic off for 2 years now. This is honestly quite impressive considering his troubled past with pumping out chapters. To go into more detail, it should be noted again that Yoshihiro Togashi is an author for Shonen Jump, a weekly manga magazine which publishes, I repeat, every week. Hunter x Hunter isn't Togashi's first manga. In the early 1990s, Yu Yu Hakusho was a very critically acclaimed series which was very high in quality, and even now it's an amazing series to read or watch. Although it ended extremely abruptly, to the point where it made many people wonder what happened to the series to warrant such an ending. It was only revealed in the quote for the final published volume that Togashi had been struggling with the series for a very long time. To give you a rundown of the causes for the series' end, there were 3 direct reasons. The first reason is that Togashi didn't have enough time to get rest, which resulted in a massive physical decline. The second reason is that Togashi wasn't left enough time to indulge in any of his hobbies. This directly affected his creative capabilities. And the third reason is that Togashi was out of ideas altogether to develop the characters for the series and was left with 2 options: deconstruct the characters or repeat the same stories over and over again. Togashi wanted to deconstruct the characters, but Shonen Jump didn't allow him to. They preferred the second approach of repetition. And it's easy to see why, with other mangas in Shonen Jump nowadays so easily maintaining an audience by doing this. Togashi was quoted to have ended the series on his own terms, which at that point probably just meant to end the series as quickly as possible. What's important about this story is that Togashi, who has ended a massively successful series in the past, has managed to obviously break some sort of deal with Shonen Jump, which benefits the both of them when it comes to Hunter x Hunter. But what's even more important about this story is the fact that Togashi has managed to stick with this plan. Despite having issues with scheduling in the past, Togashi has now stuck with Hunter x Hunter with multiple installments for 2 years in succession. We should be thankful that he has managed to do so at all, considering his past troubles have ended in literally the worst possible way, and that Hunter x Hunter 2 could have ended very similarly and a long time ago. Hunter x Hunter's story is amazing. From the beginning of the story in the Hunter exam arc right to where we are now in the Dark Continent arc, the story has been nothing other than a masterpiece. The characters are extremely well written. The power level system is like unparalleled in complexity, yet it makes so much sense. The story touches upon themes which explore human nature in a very subtle and clever way. I actually have a full-length video in the works talking about why the Chimera Ant arc in specific is so amazing, so make sure to look out for that. But even the other arcs in Hunter x Hunter delve into very adult subject matter such as human malice, self-sacrifice, and even the effects of genocide. Hunter x Hunter has always been a juggernaut series for Shonen Jump, but in recent years the story has only gotten better. The hiatus only started being a problem during the Chimera Ant arc, which, as I mentioned before, was one of the best written parts of the story. The very fact that the hiatus is still a problem now only goes to show that the time off from the series more than likely contributes to how well written the series is. When given time, Togashi can produce something vastly superior than, say, the rushed ending of Yu Yu Hakusho. The quality of his writing, of the story, and even the art surges upwards in an incredible way. There's a reason why the best manga out there are all ones which end up going on a massive hiatus. World Trigger, Berserk, Hunter x Hunter, and D. Grey Man are all masterpieces, and they obviously take a lot of work to make, but I guess it goes to the point where the authors all often have to take big breaks. If giving Togashi year-long breaks means we can enjoy a story like no other, then surely the answer is to give the man his breaks. In recent years, Togashi has become more involved with Shonen Jump magazine in a multitude of different ways, whilst the series was on hiatus. For example, 2 massive conversations between Togashi and some other famous manga artists were published in the magazine. One between Togashi and Sui Ishida, the author of Tokyo Ghoul, and one between Togashi and Masashi Kishimoto, the author of Naruto. These interviews go very in-depth in regards to Togashi's writing style, as the authors compare and contrast their influences and methods of creating their stories. These were really big interviews that were released bit by bit, and they make for really good reading in the absence of Hunter x Hunter. You can find all of these interviews in the description below, and I really recommend it to any Hunter x Hunter fans, because it's a great bit of insight, especially now that the series has just entered another hiatus. To go further, Sui Ishida also published a one-shot manga which stars Hisoka Moro. This one-shot is a great view into the life of Hisoka before the events of the series, as it elaborates on how Hisoka first learnt Nen, and his famous ability Bungee Gun. It is one of the many great things that have been released during one of Hunter x Hunter's big breaks, and if you haven't read this then make sure you do, as it really is worth checking out. Another one-shot which came out during a hiatus is one written by Togashi himself and is set in the world of Hunter x Hunter. These 2 side chapters were written to tie in with the Hunter x Hunter movie by Studio Madhouse. The chapters detail Kurapika's life with the Kurta clan and eventually his desire to leave his home village so that he can become a hunter. Pyro, Kurapika's best friend, is introduced, which actually seems as though it is becoming an important detail in the main story, for reasons that I won't spoil. If you want to know what I'm referring to, then look closely at this picture. Either way, this one-shot was another amazing addition to the series. In a similar vein, Togashi is currently writing a one-shot manga with an up-and-coming manga artist. Whilst it might be easy to feel disappointment that he isn't devoting all of his time to making new chapters, the man obviously knows how to write incredible stories, and I for one would love to read whatever he comes out with, and I can't wait to see what this one-shot even looks like. During the interviews which I mentioned before, Togashi has also expressed interest in writing his next manga about a card game. These little ventures probably would never have happened at all if Togashi forced himself to write weekly like he did back in the Hakusho days, and that would honestly be a shame. It would be amazing if more one-shots set in the world of Hunter x Hunter came out. Imagine a one-shot about the origins of the spiders, or about Maha Zoldyck, the mysterious member of the Zoldyck family who almost slaughtered Netero. Hunter x Hunter is such a massive world that is teeming with originality. The hiatus, as annoying as it can be, also gives us a great deal of high-quality side content, and I wouldn't mind if things were to stay that way for the foreseeable future. It might sound obvious, but raising a family isn't always easy. As a father of 2 and a job as an author for Weekly Shonen Jump, to speak nothing of his past troubles in the magazine or of his chronic back pain, I think it's fair to say that Togashi has a lot on his plate. I'm not saying it's too much for him to handle or anything, but it's easy to see why there would be great deals of time where Togashi would be struggling to write anything at all. One of the biggest ongoing memes for the hiatus is that Togashi loves playing Dragon Quest, a long-running RPG series, kind of like the rumour that Kentaro Miura, the author of Berserk, obsesses over the game Idolmaster. Both of these sayings are an exaggerated way of joking that the series isn't going to be coming back anytime soon. But the fact of the matter is that Togashi will never prioritise Hunter x Hunter or any of his manga above his family or his own health. And that's completely fine. It might be an amazing story, but at the end of the day, it is just a story. And I'm sure that it will continue to be as good as it is now for many years to come, regardless of what people might think or say. Either way, that's pretty much everything I have to say about the hiatus. I hope I've offered some help for those going through it for the first time, and if you need something Hunter x Hunter related to fill the void, then make sure you check out those interviews and the one-shot, as they are amazing. If you've already read both of those things, then I personally recommend the series World Trigger. I've just come across it myself, but so far I absolutely love it. This is Alex Enterprises 1 as always. If you like the video, then please consider leaving a like as it helps a lot, and make sure to subscribe for more if you like content like this. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time.